It's that wonderful time of year when the gym is all of a sudden slam full at 5 a.m., and the regular gym rats will have to wait until February for that power tower to be free for their bicep curls. Yes, it is a brand new year, and with that, plenty of people have now decided that this is the year to turn things around. Welcome to Achieving Minerva. I'm Sal, your host. If you haven't already, please hit subscribe and leave us a rating. That helps more people find us. Today we're going to be talking very broadly about the foundations of fitness and health because it is very important. It's a very important part of financial freedom because fitness and health can be a form of preventative medicine. And as we all know, the healthcare system is a mess and it's very expensive. So it's a little cheaper to invest in your health and your fitness. First, we're going to talk about New Year's resolutions in general. Just start us off on a light note. Then we'll talk about why we are singling out health goals. So first, a little bit of history about New Year's resolutions. They have a bit of a religious origin. The start of the new year was a time to return borrowed objects and pay debts. This was back in Rome. People would vow to the god Janus, who was the god of debts, and they would pay their debts this year and then not owe any next year. That was their main goal. Janus, oddly enough, is where the month of January comes from. In the Middle Ages, knights would take this time to take the peacock vow, and reaffirm their commitment to the code of chivalry. Some stats about New Year's resolutions. This one study is from 2007, and it found that 88% of people who set New Year's resolutions fail. I tried to find a stat on when more than half New Year's fail, but I couldn't find it. My hypothesis was March, but I couldn't find any solid research on that. Another study from 2020 took a group who made resolutions and tracked them all year. They took 1,100 participants. This actual study, I think, happened in 2018, but it was published in 2020. Of 1,100 participants, 33% made a goal regarding physical fitness, 20% made a goal for weight loss and gain, and 13% eating habits. And as we will talk about in a minute, those three things are so interconnected that they may as well be the same thing: health and fitness. And they account for 66% of the participants in this particular study. Some other categories were quitting alcohol or smoking, finding a new hobby, and financial goals. I was both surprised and not surprised and a little disappointed that financial goals were only 1% of the participants. You definitely should have financial goals every year. From all the studies that I found, the common theme seemed to be that greater success rates for achieving resolutions or goals in general was the idea of step goals or milestones, small interval goals that accumulate to the ultimate goal. The one study from 2007 said that there was a 22% higher success rate when goal setting and social support were implemented as tools for the participants. It's also worth noting that this is mostly self-reported survey data, which is widely considered weak data due to subjectivity. Most people are not very good at rating themselves and self-reporting honestly and accurately. What we generally do here in the Minerva household is we try to have fitness goals and financial goals, and sometimes we have other miscellaneous goals. As far as New Year's resolutions go, I have two major thoughts or advice. Make your goals measurable is number one. I want to run more is not going to be successful, but I want to run a 5K without stopping could be, because it is easily definable and measurable. And within this one, particularly, if you have lofty long-term goals, have milestones. So going with the 5K example, let's say by spring break, I want to be able to run 1 mile without stopping. 5K is a little over 3 miles. So having a milestone of I first need to be able to run 1 mile before I can run 3 without stopping. So making your goals measurable and give yourself milestones to celebrate to give you some dopamine hits along the way. Number 2 is New Year's Day is incredibly arbitrary. While it may seem clean and simple to start on something like January 1st, you can start goals at any time. And while January 1st or later is better than never, now is better than later. And a third piece of advice I would say is don't make goals that rely on outside forces. So if you have a financial goal, don't say, I want to have a net worth of X by the end of the year, because a lot of that probably depends on market movements. If you hold a lot of index funds and then you have another 2022 where the market is down by 20%, then you're not going to achieve the goal, but it's not really your fault. So instead, make a goal something that you can control. Like, I want to contribute X amount over the year of cost basis, and then the market can do what it wants. Due to the overwhelming popularity of health and fitness related resolutions, I figured I'd give an overview of both dieting and physical fitness. And within those, you'll find that weight loss or weight gain is there already. It's just part of the equation. I'll go into mental health in a later episode, but don't hear that as it is less important because it's arguably more important than the physical health. But anyway, committing to your health and fitness should be integral to your finance and freedom plan for the future. Healthcare is expensive, especially in the United States, but maintaining a reasonable, healthy lifestyle can help offset those costs in the future. Now, some health and fitness things are related to your DNA, but the vast majority of risk factors are something that we can control with a small amount of discipline. Now, as a disclaimer before we move forward, I do not hold credentials such as fitness coach, nutritionist, personal trainer, medical degree, or anything else, so please seek medical advice before taking my word on any of this. Exercise and diet at your own risk. Now, even though I don't have any of those formal trainings or formal credentials, I have been a lifelong athlete, swam at the collegiate level, at the national level, and mostly kept up with running in college and after college. My current hobbies are mostly based in outdoor sports like hiking, camping, fishing, and local recreational sports. I have spent the majority of my life maintaining various levels of fitness and health. I also work in healthcare as a paramedic, so I do have some degree of knowledge of the human body. And more significantly, I see on a weekly basis what a poor lifestyle looks like and kind of the culmination of poor choices. And beyond that, I'm also just a super data-driven person who spends time reading Google Scholar and PubMed for fun. Can you say nerd alert? So first, we're going to talk about eating and dieting. If you go online researching how to lose weight, you'll find an incredible amount of information, and more significantly, bullshit. The internet is a wonderful resource, but it can also be anxiety-producing information overload. Don't eat carbs. Eat some carbs. Keto. Count calories. Don't count calories. Take this pill. Drink this whey protein shake. And on and on and on and on. It is honestly exhausting just talking about it. So we're going to stay basic here on this episode today. And most likely, if you're just starting out or you've gone through all these rabbit holes, you could use just some basic facts. So in the most basic terms, dieting is just math. Calories in versus calories out. What you eat is your calories in. What your body uses is calories out. So if your calories in equals your calories out over time, then your weight will remain the same. If your calories in are greater than calories out over time, then you're probably going to gain weight. I'd wager this is where the majority of Americans are. Calories going in are greater than calories coming out. If calories out is greater than calories in over time, then you're going to lose weight. I'm emphasizing over time because if you count calories and one day it doesn't meet your goal, it's okay. If you do meet your goal and the scale goes up when you're trying to make it go down one day, it's okay. There's a lot of other things that can be happening. You could be burning fat and gaining muscle, which is denser, so you're going to still have the same weight or more weight, but it's not going to be as much fat, which is really what you want to do anyway. So we're talking cumulative over weeks, months, and years here. Day to day is not going to count. Give your goals at least 30 days of these calories in, calories out. And if you are consistent 80% of the time with your goals, then you can splurge on Christmas or Thanksgiving and have those extra cookies, and it's going to be okay as long as you are disciplined the rest of the time. Now, those equations are pretty arbitrary right now, pretty general, so we're going to put a few numbers into the equation. First, we need to understand what the basal metabolic rate is. This is the amount of calories the human body uses just to exist. These are the calories you use moving about your day, running errands, walking to the refrigerator, walking to the bathroom, what is spent using your breathing muscles, what your heart uses to pump blood, what your body uses maintaining the body temperature, which oddly is quite a bit. All your organs digesting food, your brain thinking. Every cellular process in the body uses some calories, and this is the basal metabolic rate. Now, this is different per individual, but the average for men in the United States, according to livestrong.com, is 1662 calories. That's 1,662 calories per day. And for women, from the same website, it's 1,493 per day. If you have a smartwatch of some kind, you can get a better judgment on your personal BMR, your basal metabolic rate. But for my purposes, I'll use these averages, and to split the difference, we're just going to use 1,600 calories. So right there, the calories out is 1,600, just existing without purposefully exercising at all. So for now, we will set the calories out part of the equation aside temporarily and talk about food, the calories in part of the equation. Within your daily diet, there are essentially what are called 3 macronutrients that you need to consume. Those are carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. Carbohydrates are generally used to break into units of glucose, which is a sugar that your body uses a lot of in order to make energy. Proteins are responsible for nearly everything that happens in the body, but when we consume proteins from our food, our body can break them down into their building blocks called amino acids, and then rebuild the proteins that are actually needed. Much of the protein used by our diet is used for muscle building because your skeletal muscles are basically just huge sacks of proteins. And last is fat, which is used in your cell walls and is used in different types of tissue, primarily adipose tissue, which insulates you, but there are several organs and several cellular processes that rely on fat as well. The general consensus for your average Joe is your daily diet should be about 50% carbohydrates, 30% fat, and 20% protein. So if you take the standard 2,000 calorie diet, which is what most of your nutrition facts labels on the back of your wrappers and boxes in the United States are based off of, that would be 1,000 calories of carbohydrates, 600 calories of fat, and 400 calories of protein. A couple simple recommendations to keep you from going down a rabbit hole of this diet and that diet are this. Number 1, find your kryptonite and moderate it. If you have a sweet tooth, commit to indulging in it once per week or something like that. If you have several kryptonites, try to tackle them one at a time. If you have a sweet tooth and a salt tooth and you love your Froofy coffee from Starbucks, work them into your plan of the amount of calories that you want to eat for the day. If you're trying to gain weight, you probably don't have to worry about it as much. But if you're trying to lose weight, definitely work those into your plan. But if you have a kryptonite like that, moderate it and try to indulge in it just once per week to start out. And eventually you'll be able to just treat it as a treat. Number 2, shop on the outside aisles of the grocery store. Whole produce, butcher coolers, dairy, bakery. You'll notice that those are all on the outside of the grocery store as you walk around, as opposed to the canned and frozen produce. If you notice, most of the interior aisles are your processed stuff, like the freezer section, chips, cookies, cereals. And there are some aisles that are necessary, like the beans and rice aisle. But in general, stick to the outside and the what I'll call do-it-yourself aisles, not the prepared meals that are processed. Number 3, the more colorful your diet, the healthier it is in general. Number 4, get a multivitamin to supplement the micronutrients your body thrives on. Just a generic men's or women's one a day type of thing. Don't go crazy because most important is to keep it simple, and that's number 5. If you're trying to lose weight, eat less calories than you use. And if you're trying to gain weight, eat more calories than you use. If you have a lot of veggies on your plate and you really stick to the produce section, you might not really even need the multivitamin for the micronutrients because that's where all those are. But just in case, because these diets focus on the macronutrients, just get a multivitamin. They're not that expensive. So good ideas to eat these 3 macronutrients, carbs, fat, and protein, healthily without just eating plain old sugar, plain old fat, and terrible protein. Here's some good ways to make your diet healthy. For carbs, oats, rice, whole grained bread, potatoes, honey, and fruit. Think about sugar in its natural form. Honey is literally just sugar that nature made. Fruit as well is loaded with natural sugar. Starches are just complex sugars that the body has to work to unlock. So your whole grains like oats and rice. In general, think about our ancestors, our hunter-gatherer ancestors, and what they probably had to eat. And I can almost assure you it wasn't Cinnamon Toast Crunch. So for your fats, things like avocado, olive oils, whole milk, plant-based milks, peanut butter, and other dairies are going to have a lot of fat in them. And those fatty fruits like the avocado, papaya, and things like that, those are going to be really good fats. For protein, eggs, beans, legumes like peanuts and lentils, meat, and dairy. Stick to those things, mostly on the outside of the grocery store, and your plate will probably be pretty healthy. For a couple of frugality tips, bulk. Buy in bulk. That's going to decrease your cost per unit. And buy in season. Right now it's the winter time. Things like carrots, kale, spinach, some other winter greens, broccoli, and some other hardy veggies are in season and cheaper than they are in the summer. And in the summer, things like watermelon, melon, a lot of different fruits are going to be more in season in the summer, so you can be a little bit cheaper then. So that covers most of the basics to get started on the supply side, the calories in. So now we can cover the calories out. And if you take control of this next part, the beauty is you can be less strict with yourself about what you eat. You can always walk or run an extra mile to open up another 1,000 calories for all those leftover Christmas cookies. A word of caution there, eat the calories after you have run and opened up those extra calories. If you eat the calories and then just say, I'm going to run tomorrow, that's not going to happen. And if it happens once, it's not going to happen long term. You will not commit. So make sure you earn before you indulge. So now we're going to move on to fitness and exercise. And to start, I want to implore you to stop thinking about health, food, and fitness in terms of what your body looks like and start thinking about it in terms of what your body can do. Throw the scale out the window for this next part. That number is irrelevant, especially if you have an unhealthy relationship with the scale. If you can achieve things that you want your body to do, the functional fitness, then the aesthetics of your body will show up. The first part of fitness is by far the most important, and that's cardiovascular health. First, a little bit of physiology to just explain what's going on with the cardiovascular. Your cardiovascular system consists of a pump, pipes, and fluid. The heart, blood, and the blood vessels. The blood is moved through the blood vessels by the heart, the pump. First stop is the lungs. In your lungs, you inhale air and it extracts the oxygen that goes into the blood. The blood then goes back to the heart and then gets pumped to the rest of the body. The blood delivers that oxygen via the blood to the rest of the organs and tissues, and that includes the muscle of the heart itself. And that is so that those tissues can turn glucose into energy, but it needs oxygen as part of that process. Your muscles, your skeletal muscles, require an asinine amount of oxygen to function, to walk about your life. Your heart, as well, is just a big ball of solid muscle. If the arteries supplying the heart get clogged up with fat or debris, oxygen doesn't get to the muscles and you have a heart attack. Another issue is if the pipes get plugged, your blood pressure gets too high, the pump has to work harder, gets fatigued over time, and gives out either by a heart attack or congestive heart failure, both of which lead to more complications and eventually death. So, exercising your heart by running, biking, walking, rowing, hiking, swimming, etc., makes it so the heart stays strong and it isn't working as hard during rest time. Research shows that cardiovascular fitness increases the blood flow to the lungs by increasing the amount of vessels in the lungs that are collecting oxygen. So that makes each breath more efficient. You can collect more oxygen per breath. It also increases the heart efficiency because more blood can be pumped out to the rest of the body per beat. And this is why marathon runners or swimmers or otherwise very fit people have a resting heart rate of like 50 beats per minute. Normal resting heart rate is between 60 and 100, but some of these very healthy and very active people have a heart rate of 50 and sometimes lower than that. And that's normal for those people. Each heartbeat is more efficient than a less fit person. And thirdly, cardiovascular fitness increases the amount of capillaries going to the other tissues, so that makes the oxygen delivery throughout the body also more efficient. These three physiological changes decrease your risk of stroke, heart attack, and type 2 diabetes, just to name three really big ones. So how do you get cardiovascular fit? Basically, you have to move, and that's it. But we're going to go a little more into detail. Livestrong.com suggests 2 to 5 hours per week at 60% effort and 2 hours per week at 80% effort. What the hell does that mean? In layman's terms, get your heart rate up to about 150 beats per minute for about 2 hours every week, at least 10 minutes at a time. And do that for about a month. After a month, add in an additional 2 hours with your heart rate above 160 beats per minute. Now, you're going to want to talk to your doctor about these beats per minute ranges because these are generalizations. And if you are super unhealthy, you should start smaller. And these are also age dependent. A 20-year-old probably needs to get their heart rate up a little more in order to burn fat and really achieve cardiovascular fitness than a 50-year-old. If you are going to the gym, there's usually a chart as just a general guideline that you can use on the treadmill that says if you're this age and you want to be at 60% or 80%, your heart rate should be around this speed. And if you're wanting to run outside because it's free and you don't want to pay for the gym membership, I totally agree with you. You can find those similar charts online. The cool thing about cardiovascular fitness is as you get in better shape, you are simultaneously getting stronger in your legs, arms, and heart, and also burning a ton of calories. So using the cardiovascular fitness, you can remove the what do I look like mentality and replace it with what can I do? What you can do is you can eat those extra cookies occasionally and not worry about it. You can have an extra beer. You can plan for a night out on the town because you can plan to bust your ass earlier in the week so that you can go out on Friday. Earn the treats and still get to eat it. And if your goal is to look good, if you put in the work, eating that extra treat in moderation will not really affect your results. The important thing is to move. That is the most important thing, especially if you have a very sedentary job during the day. If you work at a desk, you're not moving enough. So after work, before work, on the weekends, you have to get moving. Now we're going to move on to strength fitness. And because I subscribe to the what can I do model of fitness rather than what I look like, I don't really care about bodybuilding, bicep curls, leg day and shoulder day, yada, yada, and all that. I subscribe to functional fitness. I don't really care that my arms are as big as a tree trunk. I'm never going to look like Thor, and I have made peace with that fact. But what I do want to do is I like to hike, climb, swim, kayak, and do all these things in my free time that require some level of fitness. So I build my workouts to help stay in shape for those activities. Most people can benefit from these exercises: lunges, push-ups, pull-ups, planks, squats, deadlifts, and flexibility, mobility. All of these require very little or zero equipment, and you can do all of these without a gym membership. If you do decide to get a gym membership and you're actually going to use it, don't treat it like a sunk cost. They can be expensive, but if you use the gym 3 times a week, then you're investing in your own fitness and health. If you want to just buy the treadmill, it can also be an investment. I'm more of a run outside person, so I don't really like the treadmill anyway, but if you are more of an inside cat, there's no shame in that. At least you are moving. Now, because these sorts of routines aren't as cut and dry as the cardiovascular, which is just get your heart rate up, I'm going to give you a few resources to get started for cheap or free. Over on Reddit, our Bodyweight Fitness, which is free because it's Reddit, they have a free recommended routine in the sidebar, and that's been vetted by coaches, and the community is insanely helpful. There's a few gymnastics and calisthenics coaches that are frequently moderating on there, and they've helped contribute to that recommended routine. Another resource, foundational training, and they have a website and YouTube channel to get started, but you can also pay for a coach to come help you. There's also thousands of yoga channels. The most important thing is to move, and with strength exercises, to move correctly. So seek some basic coaching to start if you have no experience with strength exercises. Now, that was a lot in one episode. So to summarize, make measurable and achievable goals with milestones. Calories in versus calories out, and that controls your weight. You need a 50-30-20 ratio of carbs, fats, and proteins. Eat whole foods instead of processed foods. And for fitness, get that heart rate up for 2 hours every week. That's 4 30-minute sessions every week, and I know you can do it. Don't worry about the scale and keep moving. And good luck on your resolutions. And keep in mind, all of these are financial investments as well, investing in yourself so that you don't have a ton of medical issues later. Until next time, follow us and go to our website, achievingminerva.com, for some written content. We are currently working on some YouTube content, as some episodes would be better with visuals, and we're also going to be putting some other visual content up there. So stay tuned for that. I'll let you know when it's live. And most importantly, please share and subscribe about this podcast so that we can all achieve Minerva together.